Hello and welcome to Blimey TV. I'm sitting there after Carlisle just lost 2-1 at home to Cambridge United in what was another, it's just another defeat really. And the one thing I've thought about today is there's one thing worse than supporting a shit team, and that is supporting a good team that plays like a shit team, and that's what we are at the minute, because it's the hope that kills you in the end. And we're currently sitting in 14th place from first not so long ago, and it just shows another collapse. We're now in the bottom half, still fairly safe from the relegation zone, but we shouldn't even be in. I shouldn't even be looking at the relegation zone. It's now, the Google football app that the people have. I don't have to scroll down to see the relegation zone like I used to have to, and that it's a little thing, but it made me realise. And it is disappointing. It really is disappointing. Look, 2 awful goals I think we give away today. It's the same thing as usual. Not very good up front, and really bad at the back. I think the only thing we've still got going for us is them 3 in the middle. Well, not so much John Mellish anymore because he's been badly out of form. But Riley and Guy, who were clearly 2 of our better performing players. But Nick Anderton was awful today. Dean Furman wasn't much better. Farman, I don't think, could be blamed for either goal, to be honest with you. I think he's been one of the players that's been in good form recently. As much as people I have criticised him, I think recently, excluding last game of course, because I think that's a bit of a let off for him really, because it's his first game back after injury, and I feel like there might have been an element of him being rushed back from injury. But he's been one of our better players this bad run of form. And I was thinking during the match about when Stephen Presley was in charge, and when I look at the 12 games that we've had, we've won one of our last 12. It's a start so, and I looked at what fixtures we've actually played, and I remember thinking Stephen Presley's Carlisle side, as bad as it was, would have won more than one of those games. And it's just such a dramatic shift from where we were, and that's what's really frustrating about it. And I think, personally, I'm still behind the manager and the players, but because I believe that Carlisle shouldn't be a club that sacks the manager whenever we go through a bad run of form, because I think football fans and clubs at the minute are a bit too reactionary with sacking managers when clearly they're trying to build something, like Chris Beech is, and he's shown that he's a good coach. Whereas with Stephen Presley, it was just downhill from day one. Whereas Chris Beech has shown that he can get something out of the current players. But look, that opinion, it seems, is slowly becoming the minority within the fan base, and I think it's very important not to take Twitter as the voice of the fans, because Twitter is an awful place where people go to complain. So it's very important not to take Twitter and other social medias as what the fans actually think. And I think that's where people are becoming a bit, that's what people are starting to think when I've spoken to people. That's that people look on Twitter and they see everybody saying "beach out" in the replies to Carlisle's tweets, and it's people who are beach in don't say anything, and people who are beach out post it on their social medias, because that's what Twitter is really for. Twitter is an app for complaining, and I can't be convinced otherwise. But look, I think the 2 goals were awful defending, especially the first one. What I noticed today is people were ball watching a bit too much instead of actually watching the man and watching the run. Reece Bennett injured, Brennan Dickinson injured, Rod McDonald didn't have a great game. I thought he was at fault for the second goal, but the first one was the one that stuck out to me. After a great chance of our own, Rod McDonald, if that's at the other end of the pitch, that's an amazing assist from Rod McDonald. He flicks it on to Mullin, the Cambridge striker, and Anderton just backs off until he's in a good position. Like, if you're gonna let him get that shot off, at least concede the penalty doing it, because at least then you've had a go. Whereas he just backed off and let him have the shot, and I think that's, especially from the captain, that shouldn't be acceptable. And I think that's what the team's lacking at the minute. and that's a leader, because we haven't got a Danny Granger anymore. Danny Granger was a player who, if you were if you were playing badly, he would give you a kick up the arse, and I don't think we have a player like that anymore. And I think that's what we really need. And it's what I was hoping Dean Furman would be, to be honest with you, at the start of the season. But it's certainly not Nick Anderton. It just isn't him. That's just not what he is. I think he can be a good player, but I think there's an element of the captain's armband sort of putting too much responsibility on him to get the best out of him. Farman, I think, would be another good shout, but again, there's always the danger of making a goalkeeper the captain with him not having the ability. I think midfielders make the best captains because they can communicate with the forwards and the defence, whereas the goalkeeper tends to, it's common sense really. He can mainly only talk to his defence. But yeah, Nick Anderton, the captain, again, and I feel like I sound like a broken record because it feels like I'm saying the same thing over and over again, but it seems to be Nick Anderton underperforming, and then Rod McDonald as well. It seems to be them two, as of late, that don't seem to be in the best of forms. Callum Guy and Joe Riley, I think, are the two best players, and they're also the players that I think, if we don't at least make some improvement towards the end of the season, will be gone in the summer. I really hope they aren't, and I hope, in particular, Joe Riley stays, because he has become probably my favourite player in some of the stuff that he does, because he isn't just a flash player like at first I thought he was. He does get into the tackles, and he tries really hard, and the same with Callum Guy. But I think the interviews Joe Riley's done has really warmed into the Carlisle fans. And Callum Guy, obviously being made the captain when neither Nick Anderton or Aaron Hayden was playing. He's another fan favourite, and they deserve to be. Zanzala didn't have the effect that he would have liked to. Lewis Alessandra coming on and getting the goal, it's a positive. Marty Patrick, I think, played well today as well. And yeah, and another thing I want to touch on is it wasn't the officials' fault today that we lost. But my God, they didn't do us any favours. It seemed like everything was getting given in favour of Cambridge. And there was even when we did get the free kick, it would stop play and bring it back when we were on the break. Like, he didn't play advantage unless it was for them. And it just seemed like the referee today didn't help us at all. And another thing that's really been winding me up in these last few games, and I'm not saying this is a way to deflect blame from Carlisle, because I think our players do it as much as the others, but when you go down, you grab hold of the ball, so the ref has to give the foul. I think that should be a straight red, because the whistle hasn't blown and you're already handling the ball. That should be handball. It shouldn't be the ref's way of you guaranteeing yourself a foul. It should be a red card. And that's what I think. I think that rule really needs to be changed, because what it is if the ref doesn't give the foul, he has to go through the trouble of giving a red, and that doesn't benefit him. Because I think it's the refs, as much as anything, that aren't enforcing that rule. And I think that something really needs to be done about that, because it really winds me up when even one of our players goes to ground and goes around the ball like that with his arms, because it doesn't leave the officials with any choice. But it should be a sending off, and that's what it really needs to be coming up. And I think that's a rule change that needs to be and probably should be made before the start of next season. I mean, but yeah, it's just another disappointing game, and I think promotion really is completely off the table now, and it's just a matter of finish top half of the table and build on it for next season, which I think realistically was the goal at the start of the season, to be perfectly honest with you. We were never really going for promotion, I think, at the start of the season. It was to finish higher than last season and build on that with the players we had. And I think that's so far the plan. Because you look at where we are now, and considering where we were this time last season, you probably would have taken it. But yeah, I'll leave it on that in a bit.